Let's to order for our regular Thursday, December 19th, 2024 board meeting. And first, we're going to be doing our swearing in. Well, we're going to skip. You don't want to do all of them at once?
Yeah.
Okay. Perfect. So we're going to not do our swearing in. We're going to move that. So Catherine, can you do roll call?
Sorry, yes, student trustee Gonzalez. Present. Trustee Rios.
Here.
Trustee DeLuna. Present. Trustee Kishinev.
Here.
Trustee Dodd.
Here.
Trustee Baker is probably joining us a little late. Trustee Olson. Here. And Trustee Everson.
Here. Next is Pledge of Allegiance. Inez, would you like to lead us?
United States of America. To which it stands. Indivisible, with liberty and justice.
Thank you, Trustee DeLuna. So next is our land acknowledgement 2.4. As we gather today, it is important to acknowledge that Napa Valley College and the surrounding Napa Valley sit on the unceded, traditional, ancestral, and contemporary homelands of the Miwok, Potwin, who are comprised of 3 federally recognized tribes: the Kashodehi Band of Winton Indians of the Clusa Indian Community, the Quetzaldehi Band of Winton Indians, and the Yochadehi Winton Nation, and Wapo, including the Mishwa Wapo, also known as the Anastasis people. As part of Napa Valley College's mission of transforming lives through excellent educational and professional opportunities that are student-centered, equity-focused, and community-oriented in accordance with the college's value of accountability, integrity, inclusion, respect, social justice, and sustainability, we make this acknowledgement. We also affirm that this acknowledgement is insufficient. It does not undo the harm that has been and continues to be perpetrated against Indigenous people, the land, and water. May we hold steady in our commitment to be in solidarity and in action to seek equity and justice with the Miwok, Potwin, and Wapo peoples. Next is adoption of the agenda. And do I have any changes to the
Motion to approve.
I'll second.
I have a motion by Trustee Dodd and a second by Trustee Olson. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. And as adopted. We'll move to constituent group reports. We'll start out with, I don't see many of them. Associated Students in Napa Valley. We have Priya. We have a report, Catherine. Classified Senate report, Danielle. Hello.
For this report, I just want to do a quick touch in on some of the highlights of the fall semester with regard to the Classified Senate. Just as a brief reminder, the focus of the Classified Senate is twofold: college governance and professional development. While we are union members and deeply committed to the solidarity of our union and to the 3 legs of the labor movement, wages, hours, and conditions, Senate business is rather different than union business. It feels important to say this so that folks understand why I focused this report the way that I have. And so here's the report. The Senate has spent the fall semester putting ideas that we've gained from the Classified Leadership Conference into action. This includes continuing to keep our focus on collaboration and relationship building through our college governance participation, and just being in communication with each other regularly and as much as possible, coming from a place of openness and learning. It also includes involving ourselves in institutional decision-making processes and building a consciousness around the importance of this within our membership. The hope is that we can build this participation into our institutional culture and that it will build momentum over time and be normalized instead of anomalous. So we're trying to foster a sense of community and shared responsibility for the institution, be informed and responsible stakeholders here, and we're always focused on behaving from an authentic place in our interactions with each other. Some other things on our radar this fall have been brainstorming about and hoping to create DEIA competency professional development opportunities for classified staff here. This is an ongoing project that we've been working on and we're hopeful about. As a group, I'm also proud that we've been paying closer attention to AP and BP revisions as they occur through the chapter review process, the legal updates process, and through the AP and BP workshops. This is another thing that we just hope we can keep building momentum on over time at our school in terms of our participation and knowledge of this process, these processes. We've also been participating actively in district committees, work groups, and other configurations of leadership on campus and lending valuable insights and ideas to conversations as we go. Some of our senators have been doing some awesome fundraising. We had a chili cook-off in the fall with good participation, and this week we had a candy cane gram fundraiser. It's been really fun to see people participate and to hear laughter and the community building going on with these fundraising activities. And in closing, I just want to give praise and thanks to the classified members who give of themselves through the Senate, offering their time, energy, and so much care to be sure that this large group of 123 employees have a voice in college governance. It's time well spent, but it also deserves a hearty thank you. And finally, a thank you always to Dr. Powell for his continued and genuine effort and interest in having an informed, involved, and cohesive college community. I do believe at times it's like herding cats, herding like being a herder. But I don't feel like he ever gives up, and we learn a lot from him about lending grace and an open mind to things that are sometimes very difficult. So on behalf of the Classified Senate, I just want to wish everybody a beautiful winter recess, and we send our best wishes to you and your kin. That's the end of my report.
Thank you, Danielle. Next is 3.4 Classified Association Report, Jasenia.
All right. Is that good? Good afternoon, Board of Trustees, Cabinet, NVC community, and classified professionals. It has been a few months too long that I make it to this meeting. And this has been due to various reasons, but it's not a reflection of me not wanting to attend. But I come before you yet again with repetitive energy, conflicted, determined, but with a heavy heart. Representing the dedicated staff who work tirelessly behind the scenes to support our students, faculty, administrators, this physical campus, and the NVC community. As you all go into closed session and discuss negotiations, I want you to be informed that we're beyond disappointed with the district's current counterproposal on Article 9, wages, fringe benefits, packaged with rejection of many proposals we sent forward to the district, and the district's proposal to change retiree medical benefits from 15 credited years of service to 99 credited years of service to receive retiree medical benefits. We ask that you take a close look at the projected budget that was provided in the district's counter to Article 9, wages, fringe benefits, on December 11th. I'm confirming we are a mighty 124 classified, still standing. Classified professionals are facing mounting challenges as the cost of living continues to rise. We're doing more work with static resources and significantly less staff. Despite our commitment to our roles and the students we serve, the district's proposal falls far short of what we believe is fair and deserved compensation for the essential work we do. We serve our students proudly and go above and beyond because we love our job. But right now we feel the job is not loving us back. This is not the recognition or respect that our classified professionals deserve. As we wrap up our week for the semester and all go on winter break, know that we'd hope we would have had a finalized contract by this point. We started negotiations 7 months ago, and we agreed to bargain in good faith. But I have to report to you that classified are losing hope that the district in whole are not keeping true to that agreement. The district continues to contract out and consult left and right, continually overuse temporary employees, The district was able to set aside the liability for housing and still report out that the district achieved the California State Chancellor's best practice reserve threshold of 16.67% of annual expenditures. But there is no money to address compensation for classified staff salaries. As we go off for winter break, please keep us and this report in mind. Please be well and be safe. This concludes my report.
Thank you, Jasenia, and classified. 13.5 is our administrative confidential Senate report. I don't see Christine, but is she virtual? Okay, 3.6 academic Senate report. I don't see Dr. Kronzer. Doing
Dr. Kronzer's report is posted.
okay. 3.7 faculty association. We'll turn the floor over to you.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone. I am here for my president, John Kinchlow, who couldn't be here. Just letting you know that the Faculty Association had a potluck for our members a couple of weeks ago, which was really nice and well attended. It was really good to just get a sense of community back, trying to all connect with each other again and to move forward collectively. Negotiations, as always, are ongoing. I'm sorry to report that right now they are going a little more slowly than I think either side was anticipating. We've been working off contract and been out of contract since the beginning of this year. And while we have been working towards getting to a resolution on the entire contract, have another 3-year contract by the end of this academic year, it is moving rather slowly. And I think that happens when you have two sides that are coming each from their own position and trying to move towards a middle. But currently, we can't even decide where the starting point is. And when you have that on top of your regular negotiations, it's hard to be optimistic that you're going to be able to reach that goal by the end of the academic year. And so our side looks forward to reframing, hopefully being able to reconnect and go over our goals again with the district team. And hopefully we can start moving more quickly towards getting a resolution and having a good contract by the end of the year. And that is my report. Thank you.
Thank you, Christy. Thank you, all of you guys. I'm confident that we'll come to terms. Next is public comment on closed session items. At this time, the board will devote a total of up to 15 minutes to hear comments regarding closed session agenda items. Individual comments will be limited to 3 minutes. I do have one public comment from Joshua Murillo. You want to speak now or? And so items for closed session, so you guys are all up to speed. We have conference with labor negotiators, public employee performance evaluation, conference with labor negotiator pursuant to section 54957, public employment. Go for it, Josh.
All right, hello. Greetings, trustees. My name is Joshua Murillo. In addition to being a member of the local community, I also hold various roles here at Napa Valley College, as you might know. And I'd like to share some thoughts as you head into your closed session to discuss ongoing contract negotiations. Both unions are asking for fair compensation that reflects the cost of living in our area. Napa County is one of the most expensive places to live in California, yet we're told the college can't afford to pay its staff fairly. If you compare cost of living to compensation across the state, our classified staff are paid well below expectations, and our faculty are even worse off, actually. Regarding faculty salaries, you might hear from negotiators that the situation isn't as dire as it seems. But if you take a closer look, you'll see that they're comparing our single scale salary scale to the more favorable of 3 salary scales from other districts, a comparison that is frankly misleading. So why can't we raise salaries to levels that match our cost of living? We're told retiree benefits cost too much, but we're not given clear details, like, for instance, how the transition to Medicare affects that equation. We're told lifetime benefits need to go. but only for new hires, which seems like an attempt to divide current and future employees. On the topic of retirement, these benefits are surely impacted by the supplemental early retirement plan the district implemented in 2021 to manage the budget. So were these costs not considered at that time? Or was the plan to later use this as an excuse to not compensate for staff fairly? According to last year's financial report, here, it's very shiny. The district spent nearly $100 million. We're a small district. Our neighbor Santa Rosa Junior College has more than 3 times the student population, but less than twice our budget. So why do we keep hearing that there's no money? I'm not an accountant, as you might know, but perhaps you could ask yours about spending on professional services from the general fund, which have increased over 400% in the last 4 years. How much of these funds are going to lawyers and law firms that are contracted to reclassify budget items or to lead negotiations against your employees, well, the employees? One final note, I appreciate the financial report and its focus on equity efforts here at the college, but I couldn't help noticing that in the list of the cabinet, the director of the Office of Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion isn't part of it. I urge the board to consider how much more effective the college could be in advancing equity if this office had a seat at that table. Thank you for your time, and I wish everyone a happy and healthy holiday season.
Thank you, Josh. Anyone else wishing to speak on closed session items? That's what I was gonna say. So it said general, but I'm gonna go off script and we'll do general comment now before we go into closed session out of respect for your guys' time, if you're open to it. So Shauna, I have you up first, and then Christy, I'll go in order, and then Jennifer, just to let you guys. You sure? All right, 3 before 2.
Thank you. So I'm Shauna Bynum. I teach math here at the college, and I prepared a statement that I just gave to Catherine that goes through explaining about the importance of faculty in the Math Success Center, which I'm going to trust that you will read and consider carefully, because I do really believe that the reason you are all here is because you care about our students. So instead of reading all the details, I'm just going to hit on a few of the highlights. So first of all, I think it's important that you realize that our math faculty are not working in the success centers as private tutors. We do much, much more than that. 2, that our requests are very modest. We get it. We're numbers people, right? We teach math. We understand that the amount of money that you spend on this program means you don't have it to spend on something else. Your math faculty try very hard to be mindful of our requests and ask for only what we think is sustainable. For next semester, we had asked for 3 units. The most we've ever asked for from the district is 6. So I just wanted to make sure that you knew that. And then lastly, I understand that you have a very tough job. My father has served on the Board of Trustees for his local community college for 15 years now. So I see firsthand the hard work, the dedication, the stress that goes into making it happen. And I think it's important that you acknowledge that we have a tough job as well. Your math faculty have been working unbelievably hard for the past 5 years. We have made so many changes. We've changed what we teach. We've changed how we teach. We have eliminated half of our classes. We are doing trainings. We are reading the research. We are searching out best practices. And we really do believe that math faculty teaching in the success centers is the best way to serve our students. So I just implore you to consider reinstating this program. If you see the need to impose limits maybe put some reasonable limits, like tell us we could have at most 2 units or 1 unit, but just don't eliminate this service altogether. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you, Shauna. Jennifer, you are up.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Jennifer Alvarez, and this is the first semester that I am the coordinator for the Math Success Center. I've been teaching at Napa Valley College for 6 years full-time. I want to echo what my colleague Shauna Bynum just shared, that faculty are not just tutoring in the Math Success Center. We know how to anticipate questions from our students because of our pedagogical experience. We create practice problems for our students right on the spot. We create supplemental materials for students. The use of online YouTube videos is instrumental right now when we do not have enough time in the classroom to teach them all the algebra and calculus skills that they need to be successful in calculus. With the implementation of AB 1705, our students are coming in with a more diverse mathematical background that is difficult to work with. And the roles that we have in the Math Success Center are really helping close those gaps. Just for reference, during the fall semester, we led between just 3 faculty and 24 workshops for over a 16-week semester. With the removal of faculty experts, I will only be able to provide a third of those workshops in the spring. And this will barely be the second semester. Can you hear me okay? I feel like I hear a lot of feedback. This will be barely the second semester that we'll be able to offer calculus with support. For those of you that are unaware of that, that means that we have students entering into our calculus courses without necessarily a pre-calculus background. So we're trying to teach them all those pre-calculus skills at the same time that we're teaching them calculus. Oops, my phone locked. 1 second, sorry. So I just respectfully urge you all to reinstate faculty assignments in both of the success centers so that we can continue providing the support that we provided successfully this semester. Thank you.
Thank you, Jennifer. Christy?
Hi, everybody. My name is Christy Iwamoto. You may all know me because I was president of the association for a while, but I am not speaking on behalf of the association. Today, I am speaking as an individual and as a faculty member here, a member of the English faculty. I wanted to stand in solidarity with my math colleagues and what they're saying about the Math Success Center, just as I want to also stand in solidarity with my English colleagues who came and spoke to you last month. I did want to talk a little bit about my experience here at Napa Valley College. I've been employed here for 15 years. And in that time, I have seen over and over again that short-sighted administrative decisions often have long-standing consequences for our college community. And that I've seen happen over and over again, not just with the current leadership. I've seen it since I became a faculty member here, that every time we have had something happen to us, whether that is a fiscal emergency or issue, an accreditation issue, when we've had administrative turnover, that has often resulted in or been a result of some sort of short-sighted decision. And that is something that we have to change. We are in a place right now post-pandemic where I think we've lost that sense of community that we always had. It's not like we used to be. And a lot of us are lost because of that. There's lack of community. There is lack of feeling like we're part of a collective decision-making body. I think that lack of research, lack of consultation, lack of communication, these are all things that we can work on. And I think that as an optimist, I believe that we can do that. But I just think that when we hear of all these decisions that create low morale, that make us feel like we're not serving our students in the way that we want to. We really want to think about in our decision-making going forward, are we doing the research? Are we consulting with everyone and listening to them? Are we clearly communicating the things that we're trying to do and why we think that these are positive changes? And I just ask that hopefully in the new year, and I hope you all have great holidays and have a great new year. Hopefully in the new year, we can focus on that and we can make that our goal. Thank you.
Thank you, Christy. Anyone else out there wishing to speak?
No, I have no virtual public comment.
Okay, thank you, Catherine. At this point, I'm gonna adjourn us to closed session. We're gonna cover again, conference with labor negotiators, public employee performance evaluation, conference with labor negotiator, and then public employment. And my goal is to get us back here by 5:45 at the latest. Of our re-elected trustees. So turn it over to Dr. Powell.
We can do it in our seats unless you want to stand.
Yes, I think Inez, let's go do it. Inez wants a picture. It's a big moment. Come on.
All right, here we go.
Want to sit? Okay, good.
Please raise your right arm and repeat after me. I state your name.
I
Do solemnly swear that I will support and defend the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of California against all enemies, foreign and domestic, that I will bear true faith and allegiance to the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of California, that I take this obligation freely without any mental reservation or purpose of evasion, and that I will well and faithfully discharge the duties into which I am about to enter. All right. Nothing yet.
Congratulations to both of you. Raphael, this is what? This will be the start of impressive. Inez, congratulations. Okay, do we have any public comment? We did do it earlier, but if you'd like, all right. Catherine, do you have any in virtual world?
No, we do not.
Okay, having no public comment, I'm gonna cut this part and we're gonna move to consent calendar. Do I have a motion on our consent calendar?
Hey, Kyle, I move to accept the consent calendar.
Thank you, sir. So I have a trustee Kishnev. I'm a second by trustee Deluna. All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Consent calendar is unanimous. Now let's go. Okay. Make sure I got this right here. All right, next is Mr. Jim Reeves. No? Oh, Vital Immigrant Defense Advocacy and Services. Dr. G, sorry, I was kind
No,
of
that's
right through it.
totally okay. This evening, we're going to have a presentation from VIDAS, Vital Immigration Defense Advocacy Services. We have our colleague Ricardo Elorza, who's in Zoomlandia, who will do a presentation for us around the important services that VIDAS offers Napa Valley College and our community. So I will turn it over to Ricardo.
Hi, Dr. Guerrero. Can everybody hear me?
Yes.
Excellent. Well, first of all, thank you very much for having me here today. I think I've been in front of this board about 2 or 3 years ago when I first entered as a staff attorney for VIDAS. But I have 10 minutes, so let me get right into it. VIDAS is a nonprofit organization. We have, and we're led by our executive director, Monica Julian, and myself, who is the staff attorney for Napa Valley College. VIDAS has been in the Bay Area for a very long time, but we have been at the Napa Napa Valley Community College since 2019, I believe, and I entered as the staff attorney under Vidas to help the office at Napa Valley College in 2021. If we can move to the next slide, please. Let me talk a little bit about Vidas and what we offer, both outside and for all students, faculty, and staff within Napa Valley College. We have 5 offices in total. Our main office is in Santa Rosa, but we also have physical offices in Petaluma and Vallejo, which is the closest office in to Napa Valley College, and we offer 100% immigration services to the local communities surrounding these offices. We have 2 other offices, one at Napa Valley College and the other one at the Santa Rosa Community College at the Dream Center there. We offer low cost or free services to the immigrant populations within the colleges and within our geographical areas located closest to our offices. The offices where we have removal defense, people refer to it as deportation defense. We take care of that in our Petaluma, Santa Rosa, and Vallejo offices. And but we also file affirmative applications with USCIS, the Immigration Department, in all of our offices, including the services that we provide to the students, faculty, and staff at the college. I'm going to move on to the next slide. The next slide talks about the eligibility and the type of work that we offer to the Napa Community College. So our services include 100% free immigration services to all students, faculty, and staff. Students do not have to be full-time students, and they can take non-credited classes or non-paid classes, and we're still eligible to help them. Faculty and staff do not need to be fully employed by the Napa Community College, but they must be employed by the college itself, so we can provide 100% free consultations as well as immigration services if they're eligible for our help. Since I've been here as the staff attorney for Vidas at Napa Valley College, I have done approximately 250 consultations, including students, faculty, and staff, and we have filed over 150 applications with USCIS, including naturalizations to become U.S. citizens, green card holders, especially DACA and other sorts of immigration benefits that students, faculty, and staff at NVC qualify for. On the next slide, I explain the different types of services that we provide. So the only services that we do not provide are services that deal with removal defense, meaning representing students, faculty, and staff in front of an immigration judge. But since I cannot help due to limitations from our grant, I do refer the students, faculty, and staff to our general offices in Santa Rosa, who can help them and represent them in front of an immigration judge in San Francisco, Concord, or San Jose. But of the services that we do provide are the affirmative applications. So if anybody wants to become a U.S. citizen, become a legal permanent resident, apply for DACA, file for petitions or otherwise, that's something that I have helped, and I have helped a lot of students, faculty, and staff file for those documents to have some legal status here in the U.S. And I usually do those consultations either telephonically or via a phone call or via a video conference. Sometimes at least once or twice a year, I do go on campus and meet with students, faculty, and staff in person to provide the similar services. The next slide talks about student outreach and how we've been able to outreach to students, faculty, and staff. One of the best ways that we are able to connect with students or anybody who wants our services or needs our services is through email blasts, through the Dream Center, and through other partners we have or partnerships that we have developed through the college, as well as flyers and word of mouth. That's very important from counselors, professors, and otherwise other employees on campus who have been able to provide information to our services. And lastly, I want to leave everybody with my contact information on the last slide. That's my office phone number, my email address, and anybody who needs to schedule something with me can also go through our website, findyourally.com, to provide to schedule a consultation with me. Consultations are 100% private and confidential, and we keep that information for attorney-client privileges. So I'm open for any questions if there are any. Thank you.
I just have a question. And thank you for your presentation, by the way. I wanted to know, coming with the new administration coming in, are you expecting to kind of have more information sessions or anything for students or the community in the area that the college could host or help kind of build up more support for people that might be afraid of what the new administration might do to their legal status or questions, maybe just more resources that we could provide in different ways. I know you guys, we did something right after the elections, right? So just something more, after January, just having a little more information out there, I think would be best for us to really support our community.
If I could chime in, and then Ricardo, maybe if you want to chime in a little bit too. So that's a great question, Trustee Luna, and I think that's a very critical and important question to ask, especially right now in this time. So one of the things I can say is that we're working closely on campus to really offer support to our community, and this it definitely will mean working closely with VIDAS and other community partners to make sure that we're a resource not only for our students but for our community during this time. There's a committee that's been created and formed around really how do we address needs of the community and students. So more to come on that, and we do have a plan that we will be doing. We're putting together now to put together some presentations and whatnot moving into spring semester and beyond. I can tell you right now, we do have a workshop planned actually for Flex Day. Both Ricardo and I will be facilitating for our campus community, and more to come around that. So absolutely, this is an important need, important area we need to respond to and attend to, and we're very much working in collaboration with VIDAS and other community partners to make sure that we attend and respond to our community.
Great. Thank you.
I have a couple of questions. You have removal defense, which you're not offering here. I'd like to know, what does removal defense look like? And I'd like to know why it's not being offered here. And also, if instead of being referred to Santa Rosa, if we can refer our students to the Vallejo office. We have a lot of students in Vallejo.
Yes, so let me just chime in from the previous question, and I'll be happy to answer your question. Secondly, so we do offer seminars and workshops to provide students with information. In fact, I have given several of these workshops throughout the years, and we're happy where we're invited to provide any seminars, workshops on any topic that is of interest to the community. I have, I have given workshops regarding know your rights, citizenship, naturalization, consular process, what removal defense is, as the previous member from the Board of Trustees mentioned that why it's not offering, what does that entail? But any information or any topic that is of interest to the community, I'll be happy to present on for anybody who's interested. Regarding removal defense, it is not provided on as a service due to the grant limitation that we're given by the state of California. So that's basically the only reason why we're not able to provide that to students, faculty, and staff. But since I cannot directly help with that, we recommend and refer anybody who needs that type of service to our local office. The Vallejo office is in transition with an attorney. I think right now they don't have an attorney present at the time, and that's why we channel them through our Santa Rosa office. But they usually also attend the Vallejo office for questions or taking evidence, for example. So it just depends on the beneficiaries' preferences of what to do. If they want to see an in-person attorney, they go to Santa Rosa. But if they prefer to see somebody, talk with somebody over the phone or a video conference, then they can do that at the Vallejo office. And in the near future, we will have somebody present there, maybe in the next month or two, have somebody there who can help with removal defense. Removal defense, what that means is students or anybody who's affected going to court. So they get detained by an ICE officer. Maybe they're coming through the border and they get referred to court. They have court hearings in front of an immigration judge that schedules what they call master hearings, which are basically hearings to move the case along. And then the last hearing, known as the individual or merits hearing, the beneficiary or the respondent, how they're called, they present their case, whatever case that may be, such as asylum, for example, to that judge to determine whether they qualify for asylum and whether they get that relief. So that's what removal defense looks like, legal representation in front of the immigration court.
I have a kind of a follow-up question on that. I know I was at a Board of Supervisors meeting on Tuesday, and they're working with local organizations and farm workers associations and International Institute of the Bay Area. And I believe that IABA is putting together the Know Your Rights flyers that they had after the 2016 administration. So I'm wondering if we're looking into creating those as well, that just outline all the things really simply, what to do, who to call, don't answer your door if you believe it might be, ICE.
Yes, that's a great question, Trustee Olson, and we are, in fact, the committee that's been created is attending to just that, is exactly what information can we put out there. We want to make sure it's obviously accurate and reflective of the needs of the community. So we are working through those processes and we'll have something really ready to go at the beginning of next semester. Yes.
We just ordered thousands of cards, the pocket cards, that people can have, so I'm sure that.
Right, we had to pull some out that we've used in the past, years ago, so there's definitely some things we can work with now. But we've ordered a bunch more, so the committee is working on developing what's appropriate for the Napa Valley College, what we want to put out. And obviously working really closely as well on making sure that we are collaborating with our colleagues through VITAS, because they are a resource, they are consultants, they offer lots of support. So we want to make sure we're touching base with them as well.
Just one more piece of information that we're working to compile now also. We're working to produce a series of cards for our employees as well, so they're familiar with our administrative procedures and the protocol, should there be questions in terms of someone questioning one of our students' immigration status. We'll be presenting that at Flex Day and our convocation, and then also doing some trainings for our managers, and also kind of town hall discussions and drop-ins with constituent groups for questions and answers throughout the spring semester as well. So we want to make sure we're covering all bases in terms of our employees also knowing what protocol.
Thank you.
Nice work, everybody. Good questions, trustees. I had one quick question on how is VITAS funded, Ricardo, and have you guys seen any increases in funding from the state with Governor Newsom's position towards the Trump administration around this?
Excellent. That's above my pay grade. I haven't heard from the executive director any funding. Funding, it's good so far. I don't know if there's going to be an increase. I haven't been informed of that. I have been meeting with other California departments through the grant that we do get. We haven't been informed whether that will be there will be an increase through the state. But funding so far is at a good level from years past. I am assuming that maybe there will be more funding in the future, but I cannot say whether there will be an increase in the near future.
Any other questions, you guys? Ricardo, thank you, and thank you for fighting the good fight and doing what you do. So we appreciate you.
Really appreciate it. Thank you for having me. Any questions? You provided my information to how to contact me. I'm happy to produce and appear at any seminars or workshops or otherwise to help spread good information, reliable information, and try to help as best as we can.
Thank you. Anything else, Dr. G?
Thank you very much, Ricardo. Thank you all.
Thank you.
All right. I had to do a double take on this one, Jim, but Napa Valley Writers Conference update, that's you this evening? 13.1?
Yes, it is, President Iverson. If it pleases the board, may I suggest that we move slightly the agenda items to move the audit report up to the top and in the form of a report from the Audit and Finance Committee, if it pleases the board?
Yeah.
All right.
Do it. We'll rearrange and we'll shift here, but let's.
If I can begin here, I would first introduce our auditing firm, a partner from our auditing firm, CWDL. Mr. Levitt is here, a partner. I would begin by again acknowledging the work and contributions of our own staff. Wendy Nuko, our controller, David Prince and his team have been working feverishly and diligently to get this in on time. I was surprised to hear from Ben earlier today that this is the last community college he's doing this year, because many of them are pushing it into January, which is, I would say, commendable on behalf of our team and our auditors. So thank you for that, Ben, and I would turn it over to you.
Thank you so much, Jim. And good evening, members of the board. It's my pleasure to be here to speak to the results of the fiscal 24 audit. I just want to echo that sentiment. It definitely is not something to take for granted to be able to produce these results in this timely fashion and bring the fiscal 24 audit to the December board. Like Jim mentioned, there's many districts that will be having this information at their board meetings in January and even February. So from our perspective, we work with around half of the system in the state of California. We feel that does reflect very well on district staff. So I want to extend our appreciation to district staff, primarily fiscal, where we spend the bulk of our time working with Jim, working with Wendy and their team, but also our compliance procedures take us outside of fiscal, have us working with student financial aid, with admissions and records, kind of all throughout the district. And it's definitely a district-wide effort to be able to get us everything that we need to be able to do our job and bring these results to this board. So we very much appreciate the cooperation from the district in that regard. Speaking to fiscal 24, my colleague Kyle Holtz had the opportunity to go through the report in detail with the audit committee. So at this stage, I'll go through the report at quite a higher level, really focus on a few highlights, and then open for any questions any member of the board may have regarding any aspect of our procedures or any component of the document. And perhaps what I'll start with first is just kind of the results of the audit. So the audit consists of 4 auditors' reports within the document. And we see here right on document page 1, the first of those 4 reports, the independent auditor's report, which is really our chief work product, where we opine on the fairness of the presentation of the overall district financial statements. And we provide that opinion in those top 2 paragraphs under opinions. And I'm very pleased to report that opinion is unmodified. That is the highest quality opinion an external audit firm can render, and is to say, based upon the results of our work for fiscal 24, the financials contained in this document can absolutely be relied upon by this governing board and all of the district stakeholders. The next 3 auditors' reports appear toward the back of the document. And I apologize, I don't have the page reference. They're going to be a ways back, probably around 15 or 20 pages from the back, and I can describe them. They start with our yellow book report, or our testing over internal controls and controls over compliance. That's going to be where we focus on testing the district's control environment. Had we noted an exception in controls, a breakdown in internal controls, we would note that in that section of the report. And I'll just grab.
I'm seeing page 72.
Sounds right.
Independent auditors report on state compliance and on internal control over compliance.
Yeah.
I think we found that page numbers may be a little different.
Yeah, that's gonna be document page number 67. That's gonna show that that yellow book report focusing on our testing over internal controls. Pleased to report to the board for fiscal 24. We note no exceptions to our testing over the district's financial controls. And so an entirely clean yellow book report for fiscal 24. The next of the three other independent auditors reports starts on document page 69. And that is our single audit report where we speak to our testing for the procedures outlined in the uniform guidance put out by the Federal Department of Education. This is a very weighty section of testing. When findings are noted in federal compliance, that can be very significant. It can take years to remediate any findings in that category. I'm very pleased to report we note no exceptions to federal compliance. The district continues to maintain its low risk status as a result of years of good work in maintaining federal compliance, which is outstanding to see. And then the final of the other auditors' reports, which appears on document page 72, is the broadest section of our testing concerning state compliance. This is where we test the procedures outlined in the annual update to the Chancellor's Office's CDAM or Contracted District Audit Manual. And we can see on the bottom of document page 74, all those procedures enumerated that are required for testing by the fiscal 24 CDAM. This testing spans many areas. It's a very sensitive type of testing, similar to federal compliance. When comments do appear, they virtually always will warrant a reportable finding as either a significant deficiency or a material weakness. Very common area to have exceptions. For fiscal 24, we do note 2 exceptions to state compliance, and I'll speak to those in a bit more detail right now, actually. So moving past that last of the auditor's reports, we get into the schedule of findings and question costs, and we can see a summary of that on document page 76, kind of encapsulating all the work done for the year, showing that testing over the financial statements, federal awards, and state awards. And we see through those responses in each of those line items entirely clear results right up until we get to that very second from the bottom line, referring to significant deficiencies in our state testing. And so we note those 2 significant deficiencies. And in the very next section of the audit, we get to the detailed pages describing any findings or question costs noted. We can see a blank page with respect to financial statement findings on document page 77. Likewise, a blank page over federal award findings, as there were none noted, over document page 78. And then on document page 79, we see the first of the 2 significant deficiencies over state compliance. That first one identified as finding 2024-001. And this is going to be familiar to the board. This comment relates to what's called the salaries of classroom instructors, more commonly known as the 50% law. And we do note that the district has accurately reported its 50% compliance. But despite accurately reporting that amount is under the threshold required by law. And in the district's response to the finding, district management goes into quite a bit of detail. And one thing that we really like to see is a bit of historical context. So in that corrective action plan, the district indicates fiscal 24, that ratio came out to 44.57% under the 50% threshold. In the prior year, fiscal 23, noted at 45.28%. And then in fiscal 22, 42.72%. So a very challenging area. Historically, the district is in good company in that respect. There are many districts in the position that are near but underneath the threshold for compliance. Nonetheless, it does qualify as a reportable finding as it is outside of the requirement. The district does note that they have contracted with the consulting firm Cambridge West to seek some help for consulting support in this area. And we find that commendable. And anything that that consulting firm in the district would need from us, as far as, context and perspective goes, we welcomely and freely would give it because we very much want the district to be able to find a way, with help of the board, to meet compliance with this really, really challenging area. Coming from a very old law that becomes increasingly difficult the more administrative support related to categorical funding becomes increasingly necessary. So very, very challenging area. The other finding noted on the very next page, document page 80, as finding 2024-002 relates to another state compliance procedure, state general apportionment funding system, or section 424. And this pertains to one isolated item, which nonetheless, due to the sensitivity of the test, does merit a significant deficiency related to a particular census type course, a positive attendance or an actual hours census type course that was overclaimed based on the results of our testing in fiscal 24. And so we note that course was actually claimed for 9,800 student hours of participation, which was actually in excess of what 100% participation in that course would have involved. So this was a case where, unfortunately, there was not during fiscal 24 an analytical control, a procedure to look to see if any courses were being reported beyond what would even be technically possible. And so in communicating this identified course to district management, management has responded with exactly that intent, going forward to put in a procedure not only to better kind of inform instructors on their requirements to maintain detailed rosters that back up actual hours of participation, but also to have an analytic that shows if there are any courses that are erroneously, due to some clerical error, being reported well beyond what should be possible. And moving to the very last section, I always want to point out this section because we find it really commendable. In the unaudited supplementary information section, which appears starting on document page 82, these were items that were requested by this governing board to have additional optional information, to have additional context, additional information put out to users of the district's financials. The first 2 pages of that supplementary information, document page 82 and page 83, show, and this is something that's not required, but something that we think really does make sense and probably should be required, the fund financial information of the district at that snapshot date of June 30, 2024. So we can see there the district board making this very broadly available to the public. So the public not only sees the government-wide financials, but also the fund financials, which is really the more operating basis of accounting. And we can see those balances at that cutoff date, as well as all the activities related to those individual fund financials on document page 83. And then following document page 83, another recommendation from the board in the schedule of financial trends and analysis, a detailed look at budget to actual, budget to audited actual. So on that document page 84, we see for the district's statement of activities, the final budget numbers appearing in the far left column with the actual general unrestricted off to the right, the unrestricted general fund, and then the variances off to the far right, giving some perspective on just where those actual results came in relative to the final budget, which is, again, something that's not required for presentation, but a really helpful piece of information nonetheless. On the very final page, also described as schedule of financial trends and analysis showing on document page 85, is information to provide a bit of additional detail with respect to transfers. So information that would normally be consolidated into just a single line item here fleshed out in quite a bit of detail so that transfers can be really spelled out those transfers, not just going to the capital outlay fund, but for what purposes. Likewise for the self-insurance fund and the post-retirement benefits fund. So good information that we think really adds to the value of the financial statements. And with that, I know I covered all of that at quite a high level. I want to open for any questions any member of the board may have on any of our procedures or any aspect of the entire report as performed for fiscal 24.
Any questions, you guys?
I have a tangential question. I appreciate, thank you for the audit. Thank you for the awesome results. You mentioned that a lot of colleges haven't made the 50% requirement yet, and that's something that we're working on. I was curious, it's tangential, but how many colleges are you aware of that are still working on that? And how many are you aware of that haven't made that?
I really wish we had that stat because we could have it. For all the districts that we work with, it would be easy enough to put that together. I want to say anecdotally, of the roughly 35 districts that we worked with this past year, probably talking about around a quarter of that number that are either right at the margin within 0.1% or below that threshold of compliance. Now, many of those districts are going to be in the community funded category, but not all. And pretty much every district that we work with, even that is, within say 1% or more over the compliance threshold, will still say this takes an enormous amount of their time to plan for, because it's so difficult to meet that bar, and it becomes more difficult every single year.
Thank you.
Of course.
Other questions?
Yes, Trustee Baker was lying in wait here at the Finance and Audit Committee meeting on Tuesday. She astutely noted that there was a discrepancy in the data that suggested that there was $1 million unaccounted for. And when we went back, we found that there was a mistaken entry into the schedule. And if you can just scroll down a little bit, Catherine, there you go. Can you take your cursor to the bottom left number? Right, that one right there. Thank you. In the draft report presented to the committee on Tuesday, that number was $4,797,587, and it revealed a variance of $3,287,499. We've corrected that to the number you're seeing here. So you're seeing the fund balance, the 7 million, is the actual fund balance in this current year. Recall that the left column is the budget, the middle column is the actual, where actual fund balance ended, and the right column is the variance, like the difference between the budgeted and the actual. So when you look at the fund balance there, you'll see that it's just a variance number of 395. In the previous report, it showed a variance of 3,287,000. So that's what we were reading as the discrepancy. Trustee Baker, anything more there? Okay. I think it's also important to note that the upper number in the middle under excess of revenues and over expenditures, you'll see the actuals is 7,199,501. So the question you might ask is, where is that money? And so you'll notice that we did have an increase in the Fund 11 balance of 1,119,000, but the remainder of that moved to the second page where Ben was referencing the transfers. So we go to the next page. Thank you. So those funds were transferred to other funds to prepare ourselves for some expenses. You'll see in the top area our capital outlay fund. We've talked about the Wine Education Center, the Ash landfill. We have a student lounge remodel. Those are all capital outlay funds that sit in that capital budget. And you'll look to the transfer to self-insurance fund. You'll see the 100,000 for prepaid self-insurance, but the next big one is 650,000 And that is the subordinated liability fund, where we're holding those funds to offset any expenses that may be incurred there. So in total, you'll see the SERP and OPEB numbers there. In total, it's $6,080,000. And that ties to the previous top line where you'll see the transfers out. There you go. Catherine, a little lower. Right, a little lower on the cursor. Right in the middle, 6080409 ties to the transfers out. I hope I didn't muddy that up too much, but that's the explanation for that discrepancy from this report, which is a draft report until you accept it, and Tuesday's report.
Ben, how long have you been working with the district?
I think coming up on 11 years.
And looking at this now and then going back, I mean, how does this compare, would you say? Just not to put you on the spot, but trying to compliment Jim, because this is a lot of hard work and we made some significant strides in the right directions.
Yeah, I think that, I mean, from the financial reporting side, you know, we've seen some major improvements. I think that just in general, you know, one thing I might highlight just to that point, if we go to the district-wide core, we see a significant improvement in fiscal 24. Let me get the page reference for that. But that's, again, something that speaks really well to district fiscal management. We see that in the very start of the core financials. So if we go to document page 12, got the government-wide statement of net position. And so that's showing, you know, effectively the district's balance sheet at the cutoff date. And the very next page is where we're going to see all the activities during fiscal 24 to get to that position. And so at the bottom of page, document page 13, we can see, you know, kind of recap there in that grand total, an increase in net position during the year of 12.261 million, bringing that beginning net position up from negative 48.354 million to 36.093 million. So very substantial change in just a single year's time. And to that question, there's absolutely no reason to stop here. So the board's made suggestions to management, and we've taken those suggestions and brought them into the report. There's already a couple pieces of information in the district audit that look back as far as a decade related to OPEB, related to pensions. If the board saw a value in it, there's no reason why we couldn't have an even greater historical look back, kind of tracing those changes in net position, those changes in unrestricted general fund balance, so that a user of the financials could really see that trajectory over a long period of time.
And it might be worth just a very brief explanation why we're showing our net position as a negative number.
Yeah.
What contributes to that?
Absolutely. So maybe I'll go back up one document page just to give some context, because that's always an important point to speak to. Typically, we think of the fund financials, especially the general fund. And if the general fund was ever negative, heaven help us. With the government-wide financial presentation, there's a lot of different items that are being rolled into that are not part of our operating basis of accounting. And so when we look to the statement of net position, right off the bat, those non-current assets, principally among them capital assets, that's not being factored in to the fund financials. That is long-term activity that is not a part. That's a reconciling item to the fund financials. And more significantly, to Jim's question, how does that amount go negative? If we go down a little bit further on this page and we get to the non-current liabilities, so looking there, you know, starting with compensated absences, leave liability related to payroll obligations that go, you know, well beyond a single current period. But then more significantly, the net OPEB liability, the net pension liability, and the long-term debt non-current, which really refers to bonded debt and other types of debt of the district. Those are, you know, extremely long-term in nature. Some of those obligations might not even be borne by the district. They might ultimately be on the taxpayer base of the district. Nonetheless, based on accounting requirements, they're required to be presented as obligations in the government-wide financials, which ultimately weigh down those financials and bring the district into a government-wide negative net position. So an important distinction to make because, yeah, very, very big difference in considering kind of using the general fund and the fund financials as a whole compared with this basis of accounting that's required for presentation in the audit report. And all the more reason why it's so important to show the fund financials at least somewhere. And amazingly, they're not required anywhere. So it's a really good addition to have.
Well, thank you, Ben and Jim. I think if you haven't heard it today already, I think.
Well, thank you.
Board appreciates it, and this is a lot.
This is really a team effort, and I'll pass that on to our team. President Iverson, can I defer to the committee for a recommendation?
Yeah, I was actually gonna have Baker, why don't you do your report and call the question?
So the Audit and Finance Committee met on Tuesday to review this in a fair amount of detail. We had a pretty robust conversation about the 50% law and got some interesting information about that. But at the end, we voted to recommend to the full board that we accept the report as is. Well, with the changes that you've made since Tuesday.
Call the question.
Yes, well, do we need a motion?
We do.
Okay, so I guess we need a motion then.
I'll motion.
I'm gonna second that.
All right, then all in favor?
Motion by
Aye.
trustee Iverson, second by trustee Kishner. Finish it, Jennifer.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right, thank you.
Trying to point out, this is good work and it's really nice to see where we're at now. So thank you all of you guys. Thanks, Ben.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you, Ben.
So Jim will go back to the Napa Valley Writers Conference update.
This is an information item from DAS. We can just open it up. It is a renewal of our relationship with the Napa Valley Writers Conference. It is said to be one of the longest standing programs in the at the district. And we have two speakers to that. Is that accurate? Very good. And so I'll turn it over to Andrea and Angela.
Hi, I'm Andrea Buick. I'm the managing director for the Napa Valley Writers Conference. We just wanted to come and sort of talk to you guys and introduce some of you to the Writers Conference if you are not familiar with it. And Angela's going to talk a little bit about the conference and then I'll kind of wrap us up.
Hi, my name is Angela Newman, and I'm the executive director of the Napa Valley Writers Conference. Andrea teaches at Napa Valley College and I do not. I'm coming in from the outside. We have a really long history since we're in our 43rd year at the holding the conference, one of the longest running in the country and one of only two that is hosted by a community college. So that's something we're very proud of. We have three different areas of students that come and study at the conference: poetry, poets, fiction writers, and translators. And then we pull from very, very accomplished and well-known writers to teach these workshops every year. So writers will come from some of the finest programs, the MFA programs in the country, like Iowa, Houston, any of the sort of breeding grounds of the next big names in writing. And they come to teach at our conference. We have 4 poetry workshops, 4 fiction workshops, and 1 workshop in translation. And we're just really proud of our faculty and the students that they draw. We are really excited, I would say this year, more excited than in the past, to be able to offer between 1/3 and 1/2 of all the students who come and apply and are accepted into the conference scholarship funds. And that's because our fundraising has increased through our efforts and also through an initiative that we have started at the conference, which is a kind of a lottery to attend the faculty dinner. Just in the week of the conference last year, we raised 4 full scholarships just based on those lotto tickets. So it's an example of participants helping other participants who are emerging writers and don't have the funds to attend the conference. So we're very proud of our new fundraising efforts, and we had an increased application pool this year. It was bigger than ever. We had more than 200% of the spaces that we had. So we turned away quite a few people, and that just makes the conference more competitive and really helps our reputation. I think what else I was going to say. We have the award-winning faculty I mentioned include the Poet Laureate of the United States, Bob Haas. He teaches our translation workshop and also gives a reading during the week, and he's been a big community draw as well. And other recent faculty who are award-winning and, quite importantly, have also come up through the conference as students in the past include Justin Torres, who won the National Book Award in 2023. He was a fiction student at the conference about, gosh, I want to say 15 years ago, and then has returned as faculty since then. Carl Phillips has been a returning faculty for many years, and he just won the Pulitzer Prize in poetry this year, or actually it was 2023. Javier Zamora has been winning all the prizes for both his poetry and his nonfiction, and his memoir is really interesting. It's about his journey immigrating from South America, following his parents, and then making his way through the systems here to become a writer. It's called Solita, and it's highly compelling. He has taught for us and also been a student at the conference. Mitchell S. Jackson, another Pulitzer Prize winner, and this year, Emily Wilson, who some of you may know is the first female translator of Homer. She came over from the UK to teach our translation workshop. So we're just really proud of the caliber of people we draw to the Valley. We host public events during the week and feature each of these faculty in public readings and also craft talks that are open to the public. So the conference events are not just for participants. They really raise the profile of our program and hopefully the college too, for the literary community, not just in Napa, but in Sonoma County and the Bay Area. People come from all over because this is such a concentration of really valued writers in one place during the 6 days of the conference. So I think that's all from me. Andrea, do you want to add to that?
Yeah, I do teach English here at the college. I've been teaching here since 2000. I originally, full-time since 2000, but I originally came here in 1993 to work for the conference and then teach here as well. And the conference is actually, it grew out of the efforts of an English professor in 1981, Dave Evans, who got some poets together, some Berkeley poets together for some summer poetry workshops. And they included Czesław Miłosz, who won the Nobel Prize for Poetry. So the conference has been here at the college since 1981. We were always up at the Upper Valley campus for the most part. And then in the past several years, we've moved down to the main campus, and we really love being here at the main campus. And we so appreciate all of the support that we're given during conference week, from the president to the DAS office, facilities, public safety, all the folks over at the PAC. It really is just this kind of wonderful community that kind of blooms during conference week and just comes together and really helps us pull this off so that our participants and our faculty can have this kind of really seamless, wonderful experience. And I feel really proud because I feel like it really allows us to kind of highlight all of the beautiful spaces here on campus as well. And so we love being here on the main campus. We're looking forward to possibly being able to use some of the new dorm facilities as well in the near future, so that we can house some of our participants, some of our faculty and staff there as well. So we're just really excited to still be here and thriving on the campus, and be part of this sort of community that we get to be a part of every summer.
We have a couple questions.
I just wanted to confirm, did you say that Javier Zamora is going to be at the conference this year?
No, just a highlight of recent recent faculty.
My second question actually though is, I'm a librarian and so we're always, you kind of said something about along the lines of, you know, you're have your ears to the ground for like who are the next and best people coming up through the ranks. What are your sources for that?
For faculty?
Yeah.
Well, it's not just their published work. We also look at their teaching record. So we look quite heavily to MFA programs and a record of teaching. So it's a combination of what their most recent books have been and also where they teach and how long they've taught and what kind of workshops they foster. So it's kind of a two-pronged approach. I mean, I'm a fiction writer and I teach fiction writing at Stanford, and Andrea, so we kind of have our antenna up for new people who are coming along. I mean, I mean, among other places, we look at, I guess, the New York Times review of books. We look at the New Yorker. We also have pretty much a word of mouth system that works pretty well for us since we work and teach writing in these programs. And then we also have a poetry staff. And Nan Cohen is our poetry director, and Iris Dunkel, who also teaches at the college, at the Napa Valley College, is our poetry program director and translation director. So we're just always involved in these communities. So that's usually where we hear about them. We also attend as a conference the Associated Writers Program Conference, AWP, which is enormous. And this year it's in LA, and we make a lot of connections there as well. But we usually have more writers that we want to ask than we have places for.
We also, just to build on what Angela said, we have really close working relationships with the University of Iowa Writers Workshop, the University of Houston, and several other writing programs. And that really helps us kind of identify and approach people who have both of those strengths, because we, like Angela said, we need people who are amazing writers and also amazing teachers.
Thank you.
Thank you, Andrea and Angela. Any other questions, anyone? Thank you, Jim. Well,
No,
thank you.
again, thanks to Andrea and Angela for carving out a little time. I pushed you a little later in the agenda, so please accept my apologies. I'll make sure I come over and say hello when you're on campus next summer.
We hope you do. We'd love to have all of you come visit. Well, and we'll let you know. We'll make sure that we send out our schedule well ahead of time so that you can join us for some evening readings and wine tasting.
Thank you. Well, happy holidays, you too.
Thanks, you too.
Thank you. Right. Okay, make sure so Jim, I think you're up again, right?
Thank you, President Iverson. If I can call your attention to what I believe is a now very familiar Fund 11 report. This is through November of this year. We are 42% of the year into the 40% of the year, and we're generally 40%, 2% into the budget. Just quickly, over to the right column, you'll see on our revenue side, we're showing 9% of our revenue received thus far. We understand that the check is in the mail, and we can expect this to be our revenue to come in the first tranche very soon. Under expenses, salaries, you'll notice we're generally doing pretty well. We have a 49% variance in classified temporary salaries. So we're about 7% over there. You'll see the total salaries at this point is only 38% of the budget, but I'll call your attention to the earmark in the budget for salary increases yet to be determined. And so those have not been distributed because those contracts are not firm yet. And so that's why you're seeing a variance is somewhat below the 42%. The same for benefits, we're at 38%. And again, awaiting confirmation of those contracts to see how those funds get utilized. Under total books and supplies, we're at 35%. We're trending pretty well there, certainly relative to the budget. That 147% at the top of that section always jumps out. It's a fairly small number, $2,300. And it was the result of a couple of departmental expenditures that went over what the budget was. Under the next section, total other operating expenses and total supplies, excuse me. The variances look pretty good. We're looking at 57% for insurance. Is that insurance and utilities? Maintenance and repairs, 57%. We're trending a little bit higher there, certainly through November. So we need to keep an eye on that. We have some expenses there for Highland Cloud Storage, which is an IT rental, and hosting and support, which is an IT matter. We're 70% on rentals. Again, we're trending a little higher there. That may be some timing there as well as we pay those bills in advance of the year. However, on total expenses under supplies, we're at 42%. So we so far are on track there. Our total expenditures are at 38%. Clearly on track, below budget, but again, we have salaries and benefits that have not hit our budget, and we anticipate those to do so. So we are our current actuals are 19 million, nearly exactly where we were at this time last year with additional revenues. So we are looking like we should be, and the outcomes of those two contracts will bear greatly on how this rolls out as we move forward. So that would conclude my report.
Fire away.
Jim, on rentals, that was one that we really kind of blew out of the water last year.
Yeah.
And so I'm just wondering, since you're thinking that that might be just front loading, how is that number, not necessarily the percentage, because I think we budgeted differently, but the actuals, how they might compare with last year's at this time?
Last year at this time, we had spent $518,000. This year, $623,000, so about $100,000 more. The budget is just under $900,000. So we did some reclassifications last year, and that may bear directly on this. But I'll have to do a little deeper dive to see what's going on there that may be contributing to the end result being a significant variance over budget.
Any other questions? Jim, you're still up 13.3, right? Budget values and assumptions.
Might I defer to the Finance and Audit Committee for a recommendation on that one?
Yeah, we reviewed this as well on Tuesday. There was one comment from Trustee DeLuna asking if, not making a change to this year's, but moving forward, if we could see some reference to our equity, diversity, and inclusion work in this document. Otherwise, we voted to recommend adoption to the full board. So anyone has questions, we can take a motion.
I think I had the same comment last year. I didn't go back, but in terms of the legal mandate section of where we are, which is Roman numeral 5, it says we'll meet all legally mandated obligations. And so obviously, as we're not going to meet the 50% rule. So I'm just wondering if you add this, we'll continue to strive to meet all legally mandated obligations, or if there's another way, I would welcome wordsmithing that further. And the fact is that we're pointing out, we're recognizing where we are with respect to the 50% law and calling out a specific number. I think it's equally as important to call out where we are on our faculty obligation number, and being, I think, over 30 faculty members over. I mean, we're probably over 50% over our faculty obligation number. So, if we're going to call out the 50% number, I think it's just equally as important especially for consistency to call out our font as well.
You want to make a motion with those wordsmithing changes?
I'd love to maybe just get a little temperature of the room.
I think it makes sense.
Yeah, I agree that it would be helpful to put thought in there. I think in terms of saying that we will meet our obligations, is, you know, these are guidelines and goals. We obviously pointed out that we're not meeting them right now,
Yeah.
but we're at least saying that that's our intent.
So the first line, the district will meet all legally mandated. So if that's the assumption, I know it's a policy, it's an assumption that an assumption of our budget is we're gonna meet it. That's not technically correct.
Yeah.
I think making that changes kind of lines it up with the audit report too. That would be.
And I don't know about font. I don't think I talked about font in this piece, but I do recall making the same comment last year. But if everyone's, I would leave it to Jim, you and your team to wordsmith that. But if everybody's okay with that, I'll make a motion to approve it with those amendments. And additional ones that Trustee Baker, or excuse me, with the notes that Trustee DeLuna.
Yeah, and I think that the intent was to include that next year rather than just send it back.
I guess it doesn't deserve a motion, yeah.
I have a second.
I'll
from you.
second.
Should
Have it
get you
from
beat me to
Trustee Olson. So motion by Trustee Dodd, Catherine, to
Mr.
make some wordsmithing adjustments to this.
For
this.
yeah,
Accepting this.
Correct.
for next year.
And then I had a second by Trustee Olson. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion carries unanimous, Catherine. Thank you, Jim.
Thank you.
and Catherine, just for the record, it's the first line is strive or similar language, and then pointing out with the same level of specificity that we have done in these assumptions with the 50% law to also similarly call out where we are on our phone. Thanks.
Okay, thank you. 13.5. This you, Mr. Reeves?
Thank you again, President Iverson. This is a request to issue a PO for the replacement of some selected roofs in the childcare center, which apparently are leaking heavily. And we want to avoid any children floating away out of that area. We have accumulated approximately $285,000 in the child care fund that we've accumulated as the fiscal agent over several years. The remainder of this cost, which is $600,000 plus, will come from some scheduled maintenance funds that we've had and we haven't used, and we're going to change out some projects in order to address this very immediate need. So this is here before you in a rush so that we can attempt to repair these roofs in the next.
Motion to approve.
Motion by Trustee Dodd.
Second.
Have a second by Trustee Rios. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Let's fix it before it collapses. Thank you, Jen. All right. Next is board policies. 14.1. These are first readings. We want to pull them up? They're first readings? Do we have any questions on any of the revisions that were proposed?
Most of these came from legal updates, which are provided to us by the California Community College League. So we put those through the process. We held a workshop in November 22nd, and teams of administrators, classified, and faculty came together to review these where appropriate. You're seeing chapter 2, the APs and the BPs, because this is your chapter. And again, these are legal updates, so you'll be approving both the APs for chapter 2 and the BPs for all of these.
Thank you, Catherine, for keeping us up to date on all this. Any questions on that? No? All right. Turn it over to president and board reports. Well, I'm sorry. Again, first readings. No changes proposed to the listed documents. Do you guys want to pull them and open them? It's an information item.
They're all linked to the board policy manual. Again, we started with chapter 1 a couple of years ago, chapter 1 and 2. Last year, we reviewed all of chapter 3, and now this year, we're reviewing all of chapter 4. Next year will be chapter 5. There are no changes proposed to these. You might want to look and see how they look.
Questions, comments? Okay. President and cabinet reports. Dr. Mora?
Yes, so we have concluded the fall semester, and I wanted to highlight a couple of the special events that came at the end of the semester. So we had 2 pinning ceremonies, and some of you were able to participate in those. We had our licensed vocational nursing students, 15 completed that program. That ceremony was held on December 9th. And then our associate degree in nursing, we had 39 students complete out of 40, which is pretty phenomenal. That ceremony was held on December 10th. You can see that when our completers finish, they state the area of nursing that they plan to enter. And you can see the wide range of virtually every area of healthcare that they're going to be supporting. And it really shows how widespread the impact of our nursing programs are. I also, when I was listening to the presenters, they all pledged this pledge of professional nursing. And there was a couple of sentences in there that really stood out to me because I feel like they align really closely with what we are doing here at the college. So I wanted to highlight those. So they pledge, I promise to care for each person with all the skill and understanding I possess, without regard to race, creed, color, politics, or social status. I will respect at all times the dignity and beliefs of the patients under my care. And I found that very moving. And I think it also connects with some of our values, particularly integrity, respect, and inclusion. There was another event that occurred recently on December 5th. It was a very collaborative effort between our business faculty, the Child and Family Studies program, and our library. One of our faculty members, Claudette Chateau, has written a children's book, and in it she has included themes of entrepreneurship, which is not surprising since she teaches business and entrepreneurship, and resiliency. At that event, we had members of the community, students and their family members, as well as employees. So it was a way to bring people together. It was a very positive interaction and collaborative event. So looking ahead to the spring 2025, we're very focused on monitoring classes and ensuring access for our students. Open registration began on December 5th. And you may recall I've reported a few times about our efforts to mitigate fraud. We have been very active on that front. And if you are looking at the class schedule, you'll see we now have a lot of open seats that were temporarily closed because we've been cleaning out fraud. So that's an ongoing effort. And there are openings in our classes. We do have some that are full, but there's still time for people to register. And we want to encourage everyone to do that early. Thank you.
You. Okay, so moving on to student affairs. Good evening, board and community. Just a couple of quick updates, important activities that occurred over this past month, and in particular, I wanted to really highlight and lift up the Filipinx Cultural Night that happened on December 6th. Kasasa Young and our Filipinx learning community held its first annual cultural night. So this really is an opportunity for the community to celebrate the Filipinx American culture and showcase aspects of it. So we had this at the Napa Valley College American Canyon Center with over 300 community members in participation. So this was led specifically by the students. So it was by the students, for the students and community. The descriptions I unfortunately couldn't make because I had a family event that night, but what I hear was the impact it made in the community, and the just showcase of the culture was extraordinary. So this is the first of hopefully a long tradition in Napa Valley College. So very, very excited for that, and just want to honor the work of the Kasasayan for the Latinx learning community around doing that and bringing this kind of activity to Napa Valley College. On December 12th, we had a learning community leadership summit. This is a really important space that was created actually over at River Trail Village. The LGBTQ club Pride Learning Community really were the ones who organized this, brought all the learning communities together, which included Umoja, Puente, Pride, and Kasasayan, to talk about how to cultivate leadership amongst each other, but also just promote and support each other's spaces and groups. So that was a well-attended event, about 40 participants, and they hope to continue to do that work moving into the spring semester. The Office of Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion provided a dinner for all participants at that event. And again, it was just great to be there in solidarity and with our students. It's all student-led. We got to just kind of hang out and to listen and to participate in their critical and important activity. Some quick updates around River Trail Village. River Trail Village continues to recruit for the upcoming semester. Currently 149 residents, with more in the onboarding process for spring 25. We're working really closely with our new management company, Asset Living, to really create a robust marketing plan strategy to continue getting the word out of River Trail. So very excited to be able to do work with them, and they're off and running around doing that really critical work of recruitment and marketing for us. So in addition to that, the operations team, which I report on a monthly basis, I want to keep you in the loop on that. This is really a space for all the programs, student affairs in particular, to come together and talk about how we're supporting the work at River Trail. So it's also an opportunity to problem solve, to think through any issues and or things that might be coming up at River Trail. So that continues to be on a weekly basis, and we're moving into I think that's got momentum, and it's an important space. The final update that I want to provide to you is please save the date for April 12th. It's the 5th annual Viva Mariachi Festival. So in next month, I'll provide you an update as to which groups we'll be having this year. But again, that's a beautiful event. So hopefully you can all attend. More to come on that. And that concludes my report.
Dr. G.
Just a brief report. Thank you, Catherine. Our budget update, we've gone over our audit of financial statements. We've gone over, we have 2 remaining audits we're awaiting results from. One is the audit of the 50% law, in which 10 institutions have been selected. We did have a pre-exit meeting, which it sounded okay. We have, there's an observation about some data that was a little off, probably 8 years ago or so, but nothing significant. I think Trustee DeLuna is staying close to the 50% conversation. So we're looking forward to that report to the Board of Governors, I suspect in the early part of the year. We are also fortunately or unfortunately selected for a housing audit. It's surprising since the beds aren't warm yet, but I believe we've submitted all the information we have for the housing audit. The audit is really looking at housing across the state, not only at community colleges, which there are a few, but also at CSUs and UCs. So it's a broad-based audit there. I would also add, we had our most recent credit report from Standard & Poor's at A+ and stable. So that is not AAA, but it's not unstable. So it's promising. We still want to continue our work as we look toward the possibility of a bond issuance in the next in our future, but certainly A+ and stable is respectable. We're continuing to work on our TCO, our total cost of ownership, in our institutional technology. We have a draft plan about to hit the streets very soon in anticipation of meeting, there's Robin, our accreditation standard. So with that, I would just provide you a quick update on the Wine Education Center. It is moving along very nicely. The schedule was extended in phase 1 to July because of some backlog of electrical equipment. But if you go by there, it's really an impressive site, and And certainly, yes, last evening, the foundation reported movement on phase 2. So we're all excited about that. And that would conclude my report.
Thank you, Mr. Reeves.
Good evening. And here in the Office of Human Resources and Training and Development, we continue to be engaged in labor negotiations with both of our bargaining units. Additionally, we have been very busy, especially leading up to this board meeting, trying to complete several recruitments. And I want to thank you all for your support in approving the hires in the consent agenda. Our Title IX and Civil Rights Department is doing continual work, working across the campus as well as with our partners in housing and building up a very tight Title IX and Civil Rights program. There will be a Title IX training during our Flex Day in January. And our Title IX Civil Rights Manager, Kelly Tomlinson, is working very hard to continue the work of our bias education response team. Under training and development, we will be hosting Eileen O'Hare Anderson from Lieber Cassidy Whitmore, who will come and train all of our administrative, confidential, and support staff on immigration enforcement activities. Additionally, in February, we'll be holding a records retention training. Thanks to Catherine Kittle for the prompting of that. I'm very proud to announce the winners of our wellness program. Once again, we offer once a semester a walking program, and we have some winners. Gina Stoffen, Kathy Gillis, Cindy Stanville, who is the top team. The team name was Winter is Coming. And then the individual, congratulations, Tara. She 652,936 total steps. I don't know what she's doing, but I need to walk with her so I can lose more weight. As always, we can continue to provide the demographics for our staff, for all of our employees at Napa Valley College. Again, we're not going to see significant changes, but over a period of time, it is really delightful to see the percentages change as we continue to add to or change our staffing here at Napa Valley College. And that concludes my report, other than to say, I hope all of you have rest and peace during our winter break. Thank you.
Thank you, Charles.
Good evening, Board of Trustees. I'm going to focus, let's see, attached to the agenda item, we have both the November and the December accreditation updates. I'm actually going to focus on the December one. The November one, Dr. Powell's office should have sent out to you all a few weeks ago. And this is kind of hot off the presses, but even before that, because it will be distributed to the campus community tomorrow morning, hopefully. So this is the final update before I move on to drafting the follow-up report, which may or may not start tomorrow. We'll see how tomorrow goes. Let's see, Jim had referenced the draft of the TCO report for technology. That is included in a hot link under technology standard 3C2, kind of in the, toward the bottom of the page that Catherine has projected up there. One thing that's unique and that has been incorporated into the December update is that I have listed at the bottom of each section. Let's see. So there's one page for college requirement 3 and one page for college requirement 4. And at the bottom of each of those pages, there is a list of what I'm calling the highest order of evidence that we had on file as of a couple days ago. And then also we've listed some anticipated evidence that would be developed and available early spring semester to attach to the report and show evidence of the statements that will be made therein. So things to look forward to. So we will be bringing the follow-up report for approval at your February meeting, no matter what date is established for that meeting, so that it can be submitted to the ACCJC by March 1st.
Any questions there or no? Okay,
And that concludes President Air reports.
all right, 15.2, standing committee and other appointment reports. Audit and finance, we heard from this evening. Nothing from McPherson, Dr. Ed Shank. Anything to report on the foundation, Jeff?
I was gonna have as my own report, but I just wanted to express my gratitude to Dr. Powell and you, President Iverson. When at our last meeting, I mentioned about, you know, feelings on the foundation board and a little bit of feeling a little bit of disconnect and wanting to be in greater tune and in touch with the college and, you know, capital needs that the foundation could look to fund. I got a long email, the foundation board got a very long email, thoughtful email from Dr. Powell with that just immediate outreach, referencing the retreat and that discussion. So I just want to appreciate that thoughtful touch to Dr. Powell. And then also, you know, more even on the more substantive side, we had Dr. Powell distributed about 4 really substantive documents to myself and Malcolm Desai as president of the foundation, and Jessica Thomason, our ED, just to go over, you know, these projects and that actually are of need and that have come about over the years. So, and then we had a follow-up, a really, you know, thoughtful, detailed follow-up on each one of these items and how we're going to attack it, and really kind of make a list of items for the foundation to, you know, build additional fundraising opportunities outside of winery and viticulture. So, thank you.
Thank you, Trustee Dodd. Das, Jenny?
Yes, we had a meeting a few weeks ago. I have a report to share, but first I wanted to say that we received recently a donation from Hands Across the Valley for $9,000, which is equivalent to 1 month of meal plans for students in our housing program. So we're really happy to receive that. And then the DOS meeting, our managing director, Carly, provided updates about the dinner delivery program at River Trail Village, highlighting the successful provision of 100 free meals daily with minimal waste. That's been a goal of theirs, and positive resident feedback. They are currently seeking new partners to enhance meal variety. That's one thing the residents had asked for, is a little bit more variety. During our treasurer report, there were some minor concerns about the financial performance of the Writers' Conference and the cafe. Board members discussed proactive measures to address financial challenges, maintain transparency with the Board of Trustees, with action items including monitoring Writers' Conference spending and ensuring open communication on fiscal matters. And then Carolee presented a draft, almost final draft of the auxiliary annual report, which provided an overview of the programs supported by DOS and their impact, outlined goals for improving centralization and leveraging communication tools, and discussed the auxiliaries' unique role compared to the college, emphasizing its flexibility in funding and operations. And I asked Carolee to come to a future, in the near future, Board of Trustees meeting to present the annual report to us. That's it. Thanks.
Trustee Olson, Trustee Rios, anything on the DWT? Right, and then Inez, as discussed, we have added triple CT board reports. Anything you want to report? Well, it's here on the agenda now.
But just to make it clear, this isn't a committee of,
No,
I just,
but it's an important position.
yeah, I appreciate it. I was just wanting to point out, it's not something that, it's only when we're on the board that it'll be on there. That's somebody from the college.
All right, future agenda item request. I think we're probably good for this year. Can start fresh next month. All right. Trustee and board reports. I did want to recognize our student trustee. She was there last night and that was good to see you. So it was a good event. So let's flip back over this, ma'am. We'll start with you, Trustee Rios. All right.
I noticed we glossed over our calendar. Do we have
No,
her?
we didn't.
Is that next? Okay.
Calendar is coming up next.
I have something to report that I will have something to report when we talk about the calendar.
All right. Trustee Kishner.
I attended the Filipinx Cultural Festival on December 6th in American Canyon. We were provided a really awesome dinner of chicken and salt and pepper fish. It's great. Watched a fantastic stage performance about a Filipina immigrant coming to terms with her culture and learning about her culture and stuff. And then it wasn't until after the performance that we learned that the whole thing was actually written by the students, which was amazing. And I hope that those students show up at the writers conference that we're having. I did have one request for next year to please have adobo because adobo is my favorite. Also, I attended the Umoja Kwanzaa celebration on Tuesday. That was wonderful. And I want to wish everybody a happy holidays, Merry Christmas, Happy Hanukkah, Happy Kwanzaa, Happy Diwali, or any other holiday you celebrate. I read somewhere that there are like 3 dozen. I did say Christmas. Thank you. That's my report.
Thank you, Trustee Kishner. Report, Trustee Baker.
Quickly want to review some of the stuff that I picked up at the conference last month. Really enjoyed getting a chance to go to that, missed being here with you all. I was able to attend several presentations, one on housing, one on student mental health, one on employee appreciation, particularly classified, and then a program on HSI, so Hispanic Serving Institutions, and really kind of shifting the way that we look at that. Is it's HSI is something that's just kind of just happens because it's a demographic, it's just numbers, but it's kind of switching from just being HSI to really putting resources and effort into turning there was a school from Cerritos that had coined HGI, so turning us into Hispanic graduating institutions. So that I thought was really good. I think it was in that same presentation where there was discussion about having more collaboration between the different learning communities. So glad to hear from your report, Dr. G, that we're doing that. So good that we're on that curve. And then I was able to attend the vocational nurse pinning, which was lovely. And I don't always dress like this. Just came from Nutcracker technical rehearsal, which went, at least the first act went pretty well. I just want to say thank you to the college for hosting that event and the staff that assist with that, the sound and everything and the backstage, just an excellent group of people. So I really appreciate their assistance with that program. So, and happy holidays to everyone.
And Trustee Cindy, always.
Okay, so first off, the PTK chapter board met with Dr. Powell in early December to discuss moving forward with the Student Advisory Council in the spring. We're working on expanding the council, expanding the number of students on the council, and we're working on determining the representation criteria for the council, making sure that the council has is diverse in ethnic background and experience, such as having commuter students, RTV residents, student parents, students from learning communities, and more. We'll be working on that during break, and we're also working on creating an application and the bylaws for the council. And the chapter is also working on submitting our annual entries for the college project and Honors in Action, hoping to win an award in April. And next, I want to say thank you to Trustee DeLuna, who connected me with the statewide student trustee. I was able to attend the first student trustee advisory, or my first student trustee advisory committee meeting this past Tuesday. I was able to connect with other student trustees across California, learned about their experiences and issues that students on their campuses are facing and how they're going about addressing those issues. A common experience that many of the student trustees shared is uncertainty about how to best fulfill their role. So I was glad that I wasn't the only student feeling that way. And the committee is working towards creating a workbook for future student trustees. So they can streamline the process and become more familiar with what the roles are and how to fulfill their roles earlier in the school year rather than the second semester. And some bills and causes that the committee is very interested in supporting this upcoming semester is AB 2586, which reduces employment barriers for undocumented students, and making sure that all community colleges have meal options that accept EBT or are EBT eligible. And next, thank you all for inviting me and Alessandra to the NVC Foundation Holiday Party. We enjoyed it and it was a really great experience to connect with others and learn more about the campus. And thank you. Happy holidays.
Thank you, Cindy. I have no report, so we're gonna move to our board organizational items, and we have triple CT board nomination. So the board will now consider whether to nominate one of us to run for election for service on the Board of California Community College Trustees. Triple CT. Trustee DeLuna has served on the Triple CT board for a 3-year term, which is ending spring of 2025. We can nominate her to run again, as she may serve 2 more years if nominated and reelected. We can also nominate a different trustee to run for this election, which takes place in March/April. Are there any trustees who would like to comment on the nomination of a trustee to run for the Triple CT board? And we'll tackle that one first. There's 2 questions. Any? Okay. Are there any members of the public who would like to comment? Big public? Any comments?
No public comment.
Anyone virtual, Catherine? Okay. Nominations are now open. Would someone like to make a nomination?
I'd like to nominate Trustee DeLuna for the position.
I will second that. You do? Making it official, Inez. Okay, so Inez DeLuna, trustee Inez DeLuna, you're nominated to run for the Triple CT board. Do we have any other nominations? Doesn't sound like it. So all those in favor of supporting trustee DeLuna to continue her success on the Triple CT?
Aye.
Congratulations, trustee DeLuna. We look forward to seeing you up there and representing us well. All right, Jeff, now we're on the calendar. 16.2.
I think,
But
Catherine, I think our May date isn't that graduation?
Catherine.
You're right. We had graduation down as May 22nd.
Every now and then.
And then we changed it because of so that is.
So we could still,
Make it?
well, we could table this because we also were talking about well,
5:15, I think.
so here, for my legal eagles on the board, there was discussion about not having a July regular board meeting. And it is of legal opinion that we need to have regular board meetings, which has been interpreted as monthly. So it's back on there. I don't have any problem. It's kind of a light month, but I think it's important for your department, Charo, too, if there's any hires, right? Is my understanding. So with the May issue, do we want to motion to approve this, knowing that May is gonna change because of the graduation?
Why don't we just, yeah, sure.
At the
I would just
22nd?
call it the 22nd, yeah.
Okay,
Sure.
so with the change to May 22nd, I have a motion to, it's an action item.
I'll move to approve.
I have a
Calendar.
motion by trustee Olson,
Second.
second by trustee Rios. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, thank you. Okay. I don't think there's any public comment. I'll ask for it. Don't hear it. So now I'm gonna turn it over to Torrance for our nomination and election of board officers.
Right. Thank you, President Iverson. We are now moving to the formal selection of our next board officers for the next year. We will now move to agenda item 16.3, nomination and election of board officers. Education Code Section 72000, as well as Board Policy 2210, require that the board elect its officers at its annual organizational meeting in December. The district has two board officer positions. First is president, and the second is vice president, both of whom will take office as of January 1st, 2025. Before making nominations, there is an opportunity for public comment on the election of officers. After that, trustees may ask questions or make comments. After that, there will be nominations for the office of president, followed by voting. Once a president is elected, vice president nominations and voting will follow. State law and board policy allow any member to nominate a trustee for president with or without providing reasons for making the nomination. Any trustee may nominate oneself, and any trustee, including the student trustee, may second the nomination. When there are no more nominations that are seconded, there will be a motion to close nominations. Votes will be cast in the same sequence as nominated. The first nominee to receive a majority of votes will be elected to the position of president. If no person receives a majority upon the first ballot, then the person with the least votes is eliminated, and votes will be taken on the remaining nominees until one receives a majority of the votes. If there is only one nominee, then that person is declared the president or vice president, and no vote will be taken. Once the president is elected, the same process is used to elect the vice president. Are there any questions, comments, or actions regarding the process? We all get to go? Same way as last year. All right. Are there any members of the public who wish to comment on the election of the board officers? Have any comment?
There are not.
Are there any members of the Board of Trustees who would like to offer general comments before nominations? Okay. All right, so nominations are now open to the trustees for the office of president. Who wishes to be recognized to make a nomination for the office of president?
I'd like to nominate trustee Jenny Olson as board chair.
I will second.
Thank you. First and a second. Do you, trustee Olson, have any comments you'd like to make regarding your nomination?
That I accept the nomination. Is that appropriate?
It's appropriate.
Very excited to step into this role next year. It's been an honor to serve the college the last 2 years. I'm really looking forward to this next year as president, if I'm elected. Thank you.
Thank you. Trustee Jenny Olson is nominated to be board president. Is there anyone who wishes to be recognized to make another nomination? Or are there any further nominations? Seeing no further nominations for the office of president, is there a motion to close nominations?
Motion to close.
Second.
First and a second, you got those, Captain? Okay. All right. Trustee Jenny Olson is the only trustee nominated for the office of president and is elected board president for 2025. Congratulations. Okay. Nominations are now open to the trustees for the office of vice president. Who wishes to be recognized to make a nomination for the office of vice president?
I will nominate, oh, here, raise your hand. Oh, I'm just gonna jump in there. I'd nominate trustee Rios.
Trustee Rios. Okay.
I'll second.
All right, we have a first and a second. Trustee Rios, do you have any comments you'd like to make regarding your nomination?
I have no comments, except the nomination.
Trustee Rafael Rios is nominated to be vice president. Is there anyone who wishes to be recognized to make another nomination? Are there any other nominations? Okay. Seeing no further nominations for vice president, is there a motion to close nominations?
Motion to close.
Second, first and second, you got those covered? Okay. Trustee Rafael Rios is the only trustee nominated for vice president and is elected board vice president for 2025. Congratulations. Okay. The board officers for 2025 are trustee Jenny Olson as president and trustee Rafael Rios as vice president. This formally ends our work. Thank you.
Nice work, Dr. Powell. Okay, a couple announcements of future meetings. We have our board retreat for January 8th, 2025. And our regular board meeting will be January 16th, 2025. With that said, it's been an honor to serve as the board chair this last term, and I think we have a great board, and I think we're doing really good work, and it's been a highlight of my last few years being a part of all this. So thank you guys.
Well, thank you, Kyle.
Yeah, thanks, Trustee Everson.
All right, well, let's adjourn.